You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome everybody to episode and shout out to KBD to the first episode of the 2026 MLS team previews series. We got 6 episodes coming, 30 teams, 30 guests, 6 shows, 4 nights, and it'll be covered by me and my co-host here, Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I can't wait to catch up with all the teams in the league because watching it through social media and the preseason stuff has been fun so far.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do is obviously it's going to be a quick 15 minutes per team. So obviously there's a lot more you can get into in depth with each team. So our hope is that one, you get a little info from every team. I mean, we're going to try to give you as much info as we possibly can with each guest, but also kind of point you in the direction of those team specific podcasts where you can kind of keep up with those teams in a little more detail. So we are going to give you a crash course, all 30 teams, 30 guests covering every team. But before we do, we wanted to come and bring it in before we bring in our first guest. Me and KBD are going to be doing it. We're going to be tag teaming though. We figured that if it's 3 people on screen, it'll probably take a little longer. So KBD, just so everybody knows, you are new to the league as a brand new fan, just been watching for a couple of years. So I figured that you give an interesting insight. So just real quick before you head out, because I'm going to take over for now, your thoughts on the MLS over the last couple of years that you've been watching?
I mean, it's been fun to watch, right? Like, I mean, we're in a different sort of time now with like a lot of bigger names here in the league, but MLS is no stranger to having big names. And I think the actual growth has been fantastic to watch. And as a new fan, I definitely appreciate it for sure.
Well, we're going to get straight to the preview. So KBD, you'll take over a couple teams later on. So we'll see you in a little bit. So let me take Mr. KBD off. Appreciate that. So we're going to start it off with the ATL, probably the most disappointing team in the league last year. And for that, we're going to bring on my guy, Henry Gita. What's going on? You're the first of 30 guests. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks, Danny. What's up? It's great to be on with you to talk about Atlanta United and MLS being back.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have it back. And Atlanta, like I said, probably maybe the Galaxy. I think it's a 2-team competition for most disappointing team last year. But just real quick, in 60 seconds, just a quick recap of the 2024 season. 25 season, I'm sorry.
25. Oh, okay. Well, time's up. Basically, lots of hype going into it. You got Miggy, you got Latte Lot, tons of cool stuff going on. And then you get into the games and it's not great. So it starts going downhill from there real quickly. There's some bad vibes in the locker room, some disagreements with the coach. Things start breaking down, and then you get the worst season in club history. So, yeah, the feels are terrible. Like you said, Atlanta, for me, the most disappointing team of 2025 because of the level of investment and just where they finish in the standings. So really, you can only go up from here.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting because I felt like going into last season, so many people predicted that because you guys, I mean, let's be real, you guys won the offseason, right? With the money that you guys spent, Miggy came back, the vibes were back. I thought Joseph might come back. It was just really disappointing. But you reset, you bring in Tata. But before we get into the additions, what are some of the departures that you could say that were a big deal over the offseason?
Yeah, there were a lot, really. Starting with Brad Guzan, obviously longtime captain and goalkeeper for Atlanta United, a big presence in the locker room. So him leaving, that leaves a big gap for this team. There's also Brooks Lennon, who is or has been the starting right back for the past like 5 seasons or something like that. Club all-time assist leader. He just wasn't hitting it anymore. He just wasn't looking great. And obviously, he's a free agent now, still hasn't found a team. So clearly it's not just an Atlanta thing. Also, Bartosz Slisz got transferred to Brøndby. He was arguably the best and most consistent player on the team last season. He was voted our MVP on our like Scars and Spikes awards at the end of the season, just because he was that stable. One of the few players that was. And then the other big one is Jamal Tiare, who is kind of the super sub striker that we've had for a couple of years now. And, he's always a serviceable backup. He's had a few injury issues and maybe some inconsistencies, but he's popped up right when he's needed. Like, for example, really, really opportune goal against Toronto.
Miami.
And Miami too. But I think the most memorable one is where he steals the ball against Toronto's goalkeeper. You remember that, man?
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that was crazy. Yeah, but that, yeah, I remember that. But I remember the Miami playoff goal, which was also a memorable goal, also. But yeah, that's a big departure. Big arrivals outside of Tata Martino.
Tata's the big one, and really all of these have to do with Tata, or most of them at least.
Okay.
So the first one, we're going to talk about goalkeeper Lucas Hoyos. He last played for Newell's Old Boys, and there is the Tata connection, the Newell's pipeline. He's a 36-year-old goalkeeper from Argentina, and he's basically the Brad Guzan replacement. Comes in with experience to be the number one between the sticks. Tata has praised him for his abilities that complement this team really well. We've seen some really good distribution from him. Not so much the shot stopping, because obviously I don't think you expect that from a 36-year-old as much, but he's definitely there. The other one is Thomas Jacob, a center back from Necaxa. He also, before that, played for Newell's Old Boys. He came through their academy. He was actually the first player that Tata asked for. He told us that he was the first player that he asked for when he got here. He can play center back. He can play right back. He's been playing as a 6 in the preseason games.
Okay.
So he's very versatile. And we've heard, allegedly, that he can play right wing, but I don't know how true that is. But yeah, he's kind of that versatile player that can go anywhere and fits really well into Tata's system. And then the other one, Elias Baez, a left back from San Lorenzo. That signing was the most recent one that was finished. It was a long transfer saga, but finally got it done. One of the most promising young left backs in Argentina. So we're excited to see him. But then again, we're not sure between him and Pedro Amador, who is kind of looking good in preseason, where that balance comes out or who starts. And finally, Adrian Gill, who is a U.S. youth national team midfielder who came through La Masia, famous academy, Barca. Yeah, he's we don't know kind of exactly what his role is. Kind of so far seems to be just a promising guy that you want to see develop with kind of sporadic minutes throughout the season. Oh, and then the last one is that today we find out that apparently we're signing Fafa Pico. So that's fun.
But I mean, that's a great super sub. Just like you said, you just lost the super sub, and he had that memorable goal, that game winner for Miami last year with the header in Atlanta in the 90+ minutes. So Fafa, look, I think Fafa's an underrated player. I think he's underappreciated with what he can bring on, especially as a super sub.
For sure. I'm just concerned personally about having a winger that is 35 years of age, because you always have that kind of decline as far as their explosiveness and their mobility. But yeah, I have also kind of seen him as a serviceable backup in MLS recently.
And there's not a lot of wear and tear on those tires. Last year, he didn't play much in Miami. Unfortunately, he couldn't. So I mean, he's fresh. I mean, I don't know how that's going to look as far as, I mean, I know Father Time is undefeated, but we'll see. Now, Tata Martino is pretty open. Has he told you how he plans to play as far as tactical or formation wise? I mean, I know he's pretty aggressive in the attack.
Yeah, that is kind of the tenet of his system is high press, getting lots of players forward, everyone being involved in all aspects, lots of positional fluidity. What we have seen so far is that he's been consistent with setting out a 4-3-3. The big question was, how was he going to get Alexi Miranchuk and Miguel Almiron to work together? Well, the way that he has put it forward is that you're going to have Miguel Almiron on the left wing, Alexi Miranchuk on the right wing, and then Latela as your striker, and then you have a line of 3 midfielders behind them with Thomas Jacob in a single pivot. So basically, why did I say wingers like this? Because they're not really going to be wide players in a sense. They're actually going to be more like inside forwards, operating more inside the channel. And we saw that in really our only good look at the team this preseason, because most of the games weren't streamed. The only one we really got to saw was against Lexington, and we saw that work because you saw both Alexi and Miguel operate in these half spaces. And then you had the fullbacks go forward to give them width. And that helped them create a lot of really good chances in that game.
The shame Brooks Lennon isn't there anymore. Well,
that's another issue entirely, man.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Ronald Hernandez, who took over for him. He's been doing really, really well. He and Miggy have a very, very strong relationship, like a strong bond. So yeah, they work together very well. But yeah, it is a lot of, these guys getting forward and kind of knowing their positions. And honestly, they just seem like they work together a lot better in this preseason than they had last season. And it's mostly some of the same players as we saw back then.
All right. Who's the most overrated player in Atlanta, and why is it Latte Lath?
I don't know that I would agree that it's Latte Lat. Of course, it's hard to pick an overrated player because I think they're all properly rated at this point.
Really? You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we really rate anyone super, super highly at this point. If you wanted to call someone overrated,
Were you happy with Latte Lath's performance last year?
No. I mean, if we're talking about last year, then it would probably be Latte Lat. But I expect him to be better this season, just because of how Tata works, and he just seems to be the right guy for that system. If you want me to pick one guy that's overrated right now, it might just be, it might be, as much as it hurts me to say it, Steven Alzate, because he's a midfielder that was brought in last summer, and we kind of expected him to be a little bit more of a connecting presence, a little bit more consistent. He had trouble kind of getting into things throughout the preseason. He's been a little better, right? But he still kind of has his moments, I think. I think he just needs to kind of polish a little bit, but he could be a solid player. It's just that right now it's hard for me to call anyone overrated.
No, that's fine.
I don't really rate anyone high enough to call him overrated.
I got you. So for anybody that's watching this and they've never really watched Atlanta and don't know what to expect, if you had to say, look out for this player this year, like when you watch Atlanta, just look out for this player because not a lot of people talking about him, but he's going to pop out at you. Who's that player to watch for?
That not a lot of people are talking about. I would have to say, let's say Matt Edwards. And here's why I'll say it. I don't expect him to be a starter, but I do expect him to be a very reliable depth piece, a very reliable option off the bench. He can cover at center back and cover mainly he's a right back and also left back. But look, this guy, he started having significant minutes last season towards the beginning, and he did a really good job. He was very solid defensively. Famously here, he was very physical with Wilfried Zaha and kind of just like bullying him off the ball at times in that away game at Charlotte. So we kind of remember him for that. But yeah, I mean, he's got tenacity, he's got grit, and he's still relatively young. So I would say if you're looking for like a sneaky player that maybe you weren't expecting to be good, it would probably be him.
How do you feel about Ashton Gordon?
I feel like he's not on the team anymore.
There you go, Sean.
Really, honestly, yeah, he's just a young player that he's still not at the level to break into the first team, and at this point, I'm not sure that he will. I think he got loaned out. I don't remember where, but he got loaned out to some, I think MLS Next Pro or USL side.
There you go, Sean. And then finally, what are the expectations from the fans, and then your predictions? Are they going to meet expectations?
Well, look, it's tough to talk about expectations because right now a lot of folks are in like wait and see mode, right? Like show me what we got mode. Because last season everyone came in with all the hype and they were ready for Atlanta to be back, and then it was a huge disappointment. So people are kind of more cautious about it now, and I think that's completely fair. But as far as kind of what I'm personally predicting, I think that Tata being back, he started getting the best out of these players again. He started making them look like a cohesive unit, like a really solid team. So I think at the bare minimum, we do see a good improvement, enough for Atlanta to potentially be a playoff team. So the way I have them right now, I have Atlanta finishing 8th in the Eastern Conference. Okay.
And so the expectation is let's get to the playoffs, and your prediction is they will, as like the 7th, 8th seed, more or less.
Yeah, I'll probably say like 8th or 9th, because I'd expect this like Eastern Conference to be very, very tough. There's a lot of really good teams, and I still haven't like I said, we still haven't gotten a very, very good look this preseason. We only got really one game that we actually saw, and then Tyler saw another one
Right.
because he went to Dallas. But yeah, we haven't had a sample size enough to say, okay, I am fully confident that this team will actually improve and be competitive. But at the same time, I do expect them to improve. I don't expect them to be outside the playoffs. So we'll see what happens, man.
Well, whether they do good or bad, you're gonna look good in it because that new kid, best kid in 2026.
Fire, man.
Oh my God, best kid in 20. That's such, I hate the sponsor, but everything else about that kid is perfection. I absolutely love that kid. The details, even the inside tag is just beautiful. 1996 and all that. So, all right. Before you sign off, real quick, I'm gonna try to ask every guest on here. We're the Battered Fans, right? It's the Battered Fans Network or whatnot. We're all Battered fans. At some point, we had heartbreak. You put your hand on top of your head at some point. You're like, how the hell did this happen? What is the most battered moment in Atlanta United history, in your opinion, right? Because I'm sure people have different opinions.
It's a tie for me. It's two. The first one,
Okay.
2019 Eastern Conference Final between Atlanta and Toronto. And it was in the Benz. And, Atlanta at that point, they were good. They were one win away from getting the MLS Cup for the second year in a row. And then I think it's freaking Nick De Leon that scores a banger and Toronto wins it, man. And I wasn't in the stadium for that. I was watching at home and dude, I just remember going, what? Like there's no way. We were so close. But yeah, that was
That
one.
was Tata's last game, right?
No, Tata's last game was MLS Cup in 2018.
Oh, he left the year. He left right after he won.
Yeah, he won. And he was
Shit,
gone.
I thought he stayed the year after.
No, that was
What's
under
the second
DeBoer.
one?
The second one is Joseph tearing his ACL in Nashville.
Yeah. That was a huge one, of course. Yeah, because I mean, that just everything for him, the team, and everything just went a little. That sucked. All right. Well, Henry, thank you for joining us for the quick 15 minutes. Let everybody know where they can catch you if they want more in-depth analysis and preview of the Atlanta United season.
Yeah, for sure. If you want more information about Atlanta United, you can follow me at HA Higuita on Twitter, Blue Sky. You can also check out my work at Scarves and Spikes, me and some of the guys. You guys already know Tommy. He does some work there. We do the show together. Tyler and Sydney, they also contribute on the website and the show. And, we got all kinds of Atlanta United coverage. So go check us out if you want to learn more about Atlanta United.
Sean thinks you're better than Tommy, so.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, Henry, appreciate you and great catching up with you, man.
Yeah. See you, man.
All right. So that was Atlanta. And now this team coming up didn't necessarily disappoint. I think most people expected them to not do great. But I think this offseason has been interesting, and it's a team that might be on the come up. I'm talking about DC United, and I got Mario from the Bad Hombres podcast. What's going on, Mario? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. I'm just $1 million short of being a millionaire, man. How are you?
I'm right there with you. Actually, I might need a little more than $1 million to get to $1 million, but hey, that's a story
man.
For another day.
Hey, exactly. It's what we aspire to one day, right?
Yeah. So, real quick, we're gonna get started in 60 seconds. Could you kind of just summarize the 2025 season for the DC United?
I'll sum it up in less than 3. Awful.
Okay.
It was bad. I don't think you can really sum it up in 60 seconds. There's only so much you could say for a team that finished last place in the league in general.
Yeah, no, it was a really bad season. And I mean, there was a point because the season got started and I felt like they lost a couple tight games where I was like, okay, I can see some potential here. And then things kind of just went off the rails.
Yeah, I think the season really went off the rails once DC United got eliminated from the Open Cup back in July of last year. That's pretty much really hit the fan. Stuff really hit the fan for the team afterwards because they fired Troy Lesane. Then they bring in an interim head coach. They were in the midst of an 11 game of a multiple game non-winning streak at that point.
Yeah,
so winless streak. and then you bring in Rene Willier at the end of the season, and it's kind of just at that point, you're kind of auditioning to save your job and thinking more into this season.
Well, were there any? I mean, obviously the biggest departure was Benteke. I felt like we used to joke around on the show last season. We used to call him just the DC Bentekes because we felt like that was the attack. And then I just had the stat up in a second ago. You guys played 34 games. You scored 30 goals, which is wild. Key departures, Benteke, anybody else that was like, okay, that's a big departure?
I think outside of Benteke, which is the obvious one, because you lose a good amount of your strike force right then and there. I think David Schnagg in a way, because he was the starter last season at left back, is a pretty big departure. And then Christian Fletcher, who is someone that was coming up with the team, academy product. You end up letting him go at the end of last season, not picking up his option, and he ends up going to Cincinnati. But I think Christian Benteke sums up as the biggest loss that DC United had for this season.
Yeah. Well, now DC's been very busy in the offseason. What were some of the key additions that really stood out to you? Well, that you think are going to make the biggest difference?
Ty Baribo. Ty Baribo. Obviously, a lot of MLS experienced players were picked up in the offseason. Ty Baribo being the main one. They paid over $4 million for him from Philadelphia, was one of Philadelphia's top goal scorers in the last couple of seasons, and was one of the reasons why Philadelphia made it to the playoffs. So he's coming in more as that Christian Benteke replacement. He's your typical box striker, not typical 9. So that's something to look forward to. Sean Nealis is another key pickup at center back. They needed a lot of defensive help going into this season. Sean Nealis is another proven MLS center back, playing several seasons for the New York Red Bulls. And then, of course, Sean Johnson, who's one of the more consistent goalkeepers in MLS
History.
Hey, he is MLS history right there. And I think that he's a solid pickup. I think low-key would be like quietly one of the more solid pickups that they made this offseason, because you get that stability in goal. That's something that they didn't really have last season with Kim, with Luis Barraza, and towards the end of the season, Jordan Farr. So getting Sean Johnson is one of those key pickups. And then, of course, you get can't remember how to pronounce his name, but Louis Montanu from Romania. He was one of the bigger signings that they had coming in from the Romanian league. He's someone that's going to be interesting to watch because not a lot of MLS fans know about him. So DC United picking him up, adding a layer to the attack would be something interesting to watch this season.
Tying back up to Ty Baribo, no pun intended. Ty Baribo, kind of like a poacher, needs service. Who's going to give him that service?
I think Gabriel Pirani would be the perfect man to give him that service. Gabriel Pirani is someone that plays that little more of that 10 role in DC United system. So I could see him giving him service. Another player that I could see him giving him a good amount of service towards Ty Baribo, especially off the wing, is Joao Peglo. Was another guy that, when not injured, showed a good amount of play, showed a lot playing off the wing.
Okay. And now going into this season, what kind of tactical formation can we expect? Are they going to be playing a defensive type of ball? Like, what are we expecting from DC United this year?
I think a little more balanced, but I definitely see them playing with a 4-man line because they tried playing with a 3-man line last season. Didn't quite work out. So given what they have, I think they'll play with a 4-man line, a 4-4-2, if you will, or a 4-1-1 kind of a deal. That's something I totally see DC United playing with formation wise this season.
Okay. Who do you think is the most overrated player on DC United?
This season or last season?
Well, last season, if they're still on the team this season, that'd be best.
Ooh, they're still. I want to say Jose Kojima. Jose Kojima came in with a lot of hype last season and just didn't perform. He's still on the team, so I'm just going to give him that overrated label. But it may change as the season goes along.
Of course.
So
it's just there's some players that we kind of keep in mind. We're like, oh, this guy, you don't watch it's impossible to watch 30 teams to keep an eye on all of them. So you hear some names that you're like, oh, this guy's probably good. I'm always curious as, are they really good? I'm sure the people that watch them week in and week out usually know a little better than we do.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because Jose Kojima did start off the season strong last year. He had a big fall off towards the end. So I'm just going to go with him as the most overrated player.
Yeah. My worry about Ty Baribo is that he also had a bit of a fall off last season with Philadelphia. He started off hot, and now he kept scoring here and there, but it wasn't as consistent as it was to start the season. So I'm really curious. I think that's the player that I'm most interested in seeing how he does on a new team, because I feel like Ty Baribo had an interesting year in Philadelphia, and I kind of curious to see how it works in DC.
Yeah, and I think when Ty Baribo had that presentation there, I guess somebody asked, like, how do you compare yourself to Benteke? He's like, look, Christian Benteke is Christian Benteke. I'm Ty Baribo. So
Yeah.
I think he's willing to give 110% going into this season. It'll be interesting to see because, like you said, he did have a fall off towards the end of the season, but I think that happens when you have these kinds of hot starts. But I think he could be someone that'll work out for DC, someone that could really perform. I don't necessarily expect him to score 23 goals this season, but I expect him to be a key contributor to the attack. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs in a new setting. And on top of that, his first game as a member of the Black and Red at Audi Field is ironically against the Philadelphia Union next Saturday.
Oh, look at that. If anybody that doesn't watch DC United on a regular basis, what's a player to watch for that it's like, okay, when you watch them this season, just look out for this guy because he'll probably stand out to you?
I would say Jackson Hopkins. I think Jackson Hopkins is an academy product. Jackson Hopkins has been at it for a couple of years, and this last season under Rene Willier, he stepped up big time. So I expect a lot more from him. So Jackson Hopkins is that player to watch out for.
Okay. Now, expectations versus predictions. Now, obviously, I mean, it's only one place to go, right? Up. You're last in the Eastern Conference, 15th. You scored less goals than games you played. What are the expectations from the fans for DC United this year? And then after that, you could tell me what the prediction is. Do you think they'll hit those expectations?
The expectations to do anything better than last season. I think that's
Okay.
every DC United fan's like the expectation is to be better than what it was last season. So
Okay.
I think it's doable because again, you can only go up. There's only one way to go after a season like the one they had last season.
Yeah. All right. And do you think that they'll do better than last season?
I think they will. I think my prediction, the optimist in me wants to say playoffs. The realist in me, maybe they'll make the playoffs because DC United hasn't made the playoffs in the last 5 to 6 seasons. So I think they'll finish anywhere between 8th and 10th, to be honest with you.
Okay. And then finally, battered moment. Now, DC has been around since 96, as they have 3 or 4 championships in their history.
4 MLS Cups.
4. It was 4. Okay, it's 4 MLS. So obviously you had a lot of good. A lot of that good came right at the beginning of the league back in the 90s. So if you had to pick your top battered moment, we're all battered fans. At some point or another, you've had a battered moment. What is the most battered moment for DC United fans, in your opinion?
2014 MLS Cup playoffs against the New York Red Bulls. Piguelo Ndula scoring a goal that pretty much eliminates DC United at RFK Stadium. I was actually at that game when they scored. I forget what minute of the second half that was. It completely took the wind out of the entire stadium. RFK went silent. So the only thing you hear are Red Bulls fans just cheering in the corner. So I think that's the most battered moment of following DC United.
Well, now that you talk about RFK, I've never had the pleasure of going to a DC United game. Are there any traditions that happen at RFK that maybe somebody that's never been there wouldn't know about? Because I know some teams have, like, for example, is it Nashville? Nashville has the guitar riff to start the games. Like, there's certain things that some teams have. Does RFK have anything? Do DC United fans have anything?
I I think for anybody that went to RFK, it doesn't exist anymore, and that's why you have the free stands at Audi Field now.
Audi Field, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so at Audi Field, I want to say the traditions is just the fans coming in with the drums before kickoff, so you could just hear them from like a mile away. It's something that started at RFK, and they continued going as they moved into Audi Field.
Oh, okay. See, I've never been to a DC United game. I'm assuming that the vibes must be great. Does Echeverri ever is that like the lore of DC United? Is it El Diablo Echeverri?
El Diablo Echeverri, Jaime Moreno, John Harkes in a way, but you will catch Jaime Moreno every so often at a DC United game. You could basically see him a few times. You'll see Echeverri there. Also Raul Diaz Arce as well, in a way, but mostly it's Marco Echeverri and Jaime Moreno when you talk about DC United legends.
But Echeverri, okay, I'm sorry because I'm not sure. Is Echeverri the guy? Like, is there one guy you're like, this is our guy?
I mean, a little bit less Echeverri. I think a little more Jaime Moreno, because Jaime Moreno is the all-time leading goal scorer for the club. He played almost the entirety of his career at DC United since when he moved from England in 1996. So I think Jaime Moreno is a little more of that guy for DC United.
Oh, okay. I started following the league 2013. So I knew about the DC United history, but okay, it's interesting. I thought Echeverri was that guy.
I mean, for some people, Echeverri is still that guy, but I think for me personally, It's more Jaime Moreno.
Well, Mario, I appreciate you taking the time. Let everybody know they can find you if they want a little more insight on DC United.
All right, you could follow me on Twitter or X. Don't really care what you call it. At Mario Maya 1. You could follow our podcast, the Bad Hombres FC podcast, on Twitter as well, at the Bad Hombres FC. And if you want to see what my co-host is working on, Jose Umana, you could follow him on all his socials as well, at Jose_M_Umana. And if you want to know or also, if you want to follow my work, you can follow me on Area Sports Network as well. You can follow them on all their social media platforms at Area Sports Network.
Much appreciated, Mario. Appreciate your time, and good luck to you guys this season. Hopefully you guys do better than last year.
Let's hope so. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Well, that was DC United with Mario, and now we're moving up a little further up north to New England with my guy, Mr. Johnstone from Revolution Recap. What's going on?
Hey, Daniel. Always an honor and a pleasure to be on the show.
Yes, no, and I appreciate taking the time. So just to start it off, a quick, in 60 seconds or less, a quick recap of the 25 season.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a disaster. Second year of Caleb Porter, the last year of Caleb Porter, really turned over a lot of the roster, really expected at least a playoff push. There was a bit of a push at the beginning of the year when they switched to a 5-man back line, but the team really kind of fell apart at the end. Striker, they had difficulties advancing the ball. They had difficult scoring goals. It all kind of fell apart. At the end of the season, they had Matt Turner in goal. On loan, and that's a question I'm sure we'll get into a little bit. They also add Dor Turgeman, an Israeli striker who scored, I believe, 3 goals in his last 3 games, but they acquired him a little bit too late. So at the end of the day, it was another disappointing season for the Revs. Caleb Porter is gone. Marko Mitrovic has come in. So we're now entering kind of a new era, but because we signed so many players at the beginning of last season to multi-year deals, there haven't been a lot of changes in the offseason. So we're basically running it back with 2025, but with a new leader at the helm.
Is Campana losing a starting job?
No, 5 goals in 5 games. A lot of people are high on him. I mean, right now, it's interesting because Marko Mitrovic plays a 4-3-3, so there's going to be a single striker somewhere, and Dor Turgeman is the obvious choice of that. Right. But people believe he might be playing on the wing, which some people question. But Campana, one of the players they've committed to multiple years, he's had a very, very good preseason. I think going into the start of the season, they're going to kind of shuffle around, maybe move Turgeman on the wing. They're also short on the wings. They've brought in Griffin Yao over from Westerlo in Belgium, former DC United guy. A bit of a carryover from your last segment. Former DC United player Griffin Yao is going to play on the left. Luca Langoni, who's been a pretty big disappointment, is going to be playing on the right. And then beyond that, their winger depth is really, really weak. So Turgeman is probably going to show a little bit of versatility playing on the wing a little bit. So I think Campana is going to be starting up top, and he's going to get a chance to keep his starting spot. But yeah, obviously last season, he was a big reason why injuries, really had poor performance. We've talked about it pretty much every time I've come on your show, but he's going to get a chance to prove himself in 2026 again.
So any other, well, I guess we'll finish off with the key departures. Any key departures before we move on to the additions?
Yeah, Thomas Shankalai, the left winger, former designated player, he really did not work out with the Revs. It's actually pretty widely reported he did not get along with Caleb Porter. He was brought in as a designated player and was traded to Minnesota early this year, which actually is a move I really like for Minnesota because he won't be a designated player. He's apparently getting a green card as well. So that's a really nice buy low for them. Anisius Ganago, who was on loan from France, didn't work out. He's gone. Brandon Bai, a longtime Revs player, left as a free agent, moved over to Portland. So, and I'm trying to think of who else. There's one more that I think I'm forgetting at the time being, but Ilya Sivicic was replaced by Matt Turner. And those are essentially the main ones. So not a ton of value loss. Thomas Shankalai is the big name there.
And key additions, my favorite is Brooklyn Raines. I think Brooklyn Raines is probably one of the more underrated players and young players in the MLS. Key additions.
Key additions, yeah, I mentioned Griffin Yao, who's going to be high expectations with him on the wing. Not a lot of attacking ability last year, and really he was the only attacker they brought in the offseason. Beyond that, they signed an academy kid, Cristiano Oliveira, who's kind of a versatile attacking midfielder. The Revs actually traded Olga Escobar, who had a great Gold Cup, and up to Montreal, and part of that is because Oliveira was in his way. So some people think he's going to be making a bit of a jump up to the first team. They added Ethan Kohler, another youth prospect from the United States setup, and they added Brooklyn Raines, who you mentioned, which is an interesting one because if you look at his stats, his progressive passes, his offensive statistics, there's not a lot there. So it's interesting. He's a good player, but a lot of people are wondering, is he going to add a little bit more to the offensive side of his game? He scored a nice goal in the U20 World Cup under Marko Mitrovic. So a lot of people are wondering if he plays differently in his role compared to Houston. So, but another thing too, interesting about all the key additions, they signed 4 players, all of them 24 years or younger. Well, actually, sorry, they signed JD Gunn as a backup goalkeeper. We're going to take him, but Yao, Oliveira, Kohler, and Raines. All of them American, all of them in the U.S. Youth setup, and Kohler, Raines, and Yao have previously played under Marko Mitrovic at the international level. So there's a lot of connection there that Marko Mitrovic is bringing in guys that he values and he has firsthand experience with.
And you got to go American with that kit that you guys have for this season.
Absolutely. Although, my I like it. My co-host called it the Flavortown kit, and he tried ruining it for me, but I like it so much that even as the Flavortown, I really like that kit. It's a sweet one. It's easily a top 10 kit for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that because like I was saying, we did a jersey review show, and I was like, if you would have told me you had a fireworks kit, how's that gonna work? No, they made it work. Yeah. So tactical, you already told us they're probably gonna play a 4-3-3. They're gonna have Campana probably up top. Now I'm assuming they're gonna be a little more aggressive, a little more direct with their passes moving forward. Even though Luca Langoni, I'm really disappointed. I really expected a lot from him.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is gonna be a bit of a counterattacking team too. I mean,
okay.
It's hard to. There's a lot of mystery because 4-3-3. A lot of people think a 5-3-2 would fit them better because they have Peyton Miller on the left. They have Ilya Feingold on the right. Both of those guys are really good wingbacks at getting up the field. As I say, they played pretty well in a 5-3-2 last year. I don't think they have the center back depth to pull off a 5-3-2, but the winger depth is kind of shallow. So it'll be interesting to see how much they move around the formation. But yeah, 4-3-3. I think they're going to play quick. They're going to play direct. They're going to be playing some counter-attacking soccer because I'm not entirely sure if on paper we're one of the stronger teams. So I could absolutely see this being a team that kind of absorbs pressure and tries to hit you on the counterattack. Because Dor Turgeman, we saw in his limited time with the Revs, when he got out into space, he was lethal. Luca Langoni seems like when he's at his best, he's using his speed. So I think that might be an element that the Revs will be a team that plays a little conservatively and tries to hit you on the counter.
Who's the most overrated player on the Revs?
Most overrated. Oof.
Why is it Campana?
Well, I was gonna say Campana, but is he overrated if we rag on him every time I come on the show?
I guess. All right. You're right.
That's a
You're
tough
right.
one. I think it's Campana is up there. A lot of people in New England are really souring on Matt Polster. He's showing a bit of his age, and because the Revs have some real depth in central midfield, you have Al Hassan Youssef, you have Brooklyn Reigns. A lot of people think Polster is someone that they need to fade out quickly. So I think maybe Matt Polster, league wide, I think Matt Polster might be the person people would be a little surprised to hear is fading, but outside of overrated, I'm trying to think of. The thing is, there's no real hype around anyone in New England, is there?
Yeah,
it's really Carlos Gil.
Carlos Gil. You can't say he's overrated.
I'm not calling him overrated. So Campana, I think, is the answer to your question, but it's kind of tough because I don't know if Campana is too overrated, but certainly not delivering.
He's a DP, isn't he?
TAM player, but they did spend like $2 million in GAM. And so he's in that $1 million cap hit range, but he's not a designated player.
I thought Campana was a designated player for you guys.
No, Matt Turner is currently a designated player, but he can be bought down with TAM. So if we wanted to get a designated player, we could. Maybe if you wanted to argue based on the cap hit, no goalkeeper is worth a designated player spot. But again, I'm not gonna call Matt Turner overrated. He had a pretty nice return to New England last year.
Yeah. All right, player to watch for. If somebody that doesn't watch New England on a regular basis watches a game, they're like, watch out for this guy. When you see him, he'll pop up and he'll stand out to you.
Well, besides the obvious answer of Carlos Gil, former MVP, double-digit goal scorer 3 of his 6 years in New England, and his primary role as a playmaker and passer. We'll put him aside. I think if you're a United States men's national team fan, you should keep an eye on Peyton Miller. Rumors are that there are 8-figure offers already coming in for Peyton Miller from Premier League teams. David Goss on SoccerWise said that he has the potential to be an Alphonso Davies-like player. He hasn't made that step just yet. He's still 18 years old, but he's a player that has the potential to be a fixture in the United States national team for years to come. Outside of that, I'd also give a shout out to Ilya Feingold, who's a really promising right back out of Israel, Dor Turgeman, who I've mentioned already, and then I'll also give a shout out to Brian Ceballos, who is a really solid center back. He was actually, rumors were flying around whether or not there was a Colombian team trying to poach him from the Revs. We bought him last year for about $2 million. He was a 25-year-old now, but a really, really solid center back who I think is going to make another step forward and is going to be potential all-star center back if he continues his form this year.
So fan-wise, what are the expectations for this team, and will they hit those expectations in your mind? Do they predict that they will?
Yeah, actually vibes are kind of high. I think a lot of people are really hopeful coming into this season, but I don't think there's a lot of expectations in terms of winning MLS Cup, making a deep run in the playoffs. This is a team that, they've added 4 players. It's actually arguable whether or not they've gotten better on paper compared to last year. In the last 2 years, the Revs have missed the playoffs by double-digit points. So where the Revs are going to find that growth, really the path for them to make the playoffs is Marko Mitrovic is a much better coach than Caleb Porter. And while I'm not going to sit here and defend Caleb Porter, Mitrovic is completely new to managing an MLS, and this will be his first game managing the MLS. So I think for my expectations, I really don't have any. I think this is a team that's going to be missing the playoffs. I would like to see some growth amongst their young players. I think it's going to be a bit of a development year. So I don't know how many people do have them in the playoffs. I think if there are expectations, it's really just to fit in and just to squeeze in. But really what we're looking at is kind of I don't want to call it a rebuild, but this is a year of Marko Mitrovic getting his feet wet coaching in MLS and looking at players like Griffin Yao and Brooklyn Reigns and Ethan Kohler and Peyton Miller and Ilya Feingold, guys in their young 20s and teenage years, taking that next step and building towards something bigger.
All right. And then I'm trying to end it with this question for everybody. We're all battered fans at one point or another. As a New England Revolution fan, what is the battered moment in your fandom, right? Because I'm sure that it's open to opinions. Some people might have different ones, but in your opinion, what was the most battered moment as a New England Revs fan?
Man, I got to choose one. Oh my!
No, if you got a couple, I had somebody give me 2 earlier.
Revs fans are so battered. I gotta tell you, it's got to be the MLS Cup against Houston, where Taylor Twellman scores, takes the lead, and then I believe it's Brian Chang. Like, oh man. Some people know exactly the number of seconds later. It's like 90 seconds later, ties it in extra time, and then the Revs go on to lose MLS Cup. That's probably the closest they've been to MLS Cup. More recent example, I think, is the New York City FC playoff game in 2021. The Revs break the points record.
Supporter Shield, yeah, huh?
Supporter Shield, really phenomenal team. And, this is a just to show how battered we are. Over the past 10 years, the New England Revolution have finished fourth or higher once. They've finished fourth or higher once since 2014 when they went to MLS Cup. And that was that year. And New York City FC, credit to them. They went on to win MLS Cup. But,
yeah, at least you went to the champ. You lost to the champs.
Went to penalty kicks, lost the champs. But Tajon Buchanan ties that game in extra time with like 2 or 3 minutes left. Crowd is going nuts. It's a phenomenal moment. And then the Revs go on to lose in penalty kicks, which is a real bit of a downer. But if not, that moment with Tajon Buchanan scoring, and that was his last moment, that was his last game with the Revolution, that would have gone all down as an all-time game for the Revs, but it ended quite sourly. So, but there's a lot of batter. I'm not even talking about Bruce Arena. That whole saga was battered. We've gone through it all, man. We've gone through it all.
No, believe me, a lot of people got battered moments all throughout. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Let everybody know where they can find you if they want some more Revs talk.
Yeah, we're on all podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please check us out there. We're also on Twitter/X at Revolution Recap, and we're on Revolution Recap on Instagram. Those are going to be the two main platforms we use going forward. And also, too, if podcasts aren't your thing, if you want written form, go check out our friends over at the Blazing Musket, who does weekly coverage of all things New England soccer, including the Revolution.
All right. Appreciate you as always, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Daniel. Good luck to Miami this year.
Yeah, likewise. All right. Now, moving on to the 2024 Eastern Conference champion, New York, New Jersey Red Bulls. I got my guy Bob over here. What's going on, Bob? How are you doing, sir?
Fantastic. I give everyone this work cell phone number. You have my personal cell phone number, so I just want you to know that when you hit me up today, it was not on the app. It was for real.
Okay. Oh, my bad.
No, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You're the one person, and you know why? Because every time I have you on my show, you bring 2,000 viewers who comment in the subscription and click the bell icon, do all that great stuff. So, thank you. I appreciate you, man.
No, and I appreciate you jumping on here to talk a little Red Bull. So, like I was saying, 2024 Eastern Conference champs. It was a really fun run. And then last year, things kind of went off the rails. So in just 60 seconds, just a recap of the 2025 season.
Yeah, 12 wins, 7 draws, 15 losses, 10th in the East, and they missed the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. They lost in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. It had
been 15 years?
15 years straight. It was the longest record in Major League, in major American sports. And, the whole thing fell apart. 47 goals conceded. That was 7th in the East. 48 goals scored was 10th in the East. Plus 1 goal differential. That's not good enough. And it was a tale of two halves. The first half of the season, 8-3-6. The second half of the season, 4-4-9. Not getting hot at the right time. And it was a home away splits, 10-3-4 at home, 2-4-11 away. Not uncommon. We do have the best home field advantage historically, but even just 3 years ago, we were the #1 road team in Major League Soccer. Fired Sandro Schwartz, brought in Michael Bradley, and I got 5 seconds left, so I'm just going to let everyone sit in silence.
All right. So that is the summary for 2025. Now, as far as the offseason goes, key departures.
Yeah, so we had a lot of movement, and that's kind of the story of Red Bull for this season. Key departures, Carlos Cornell, one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer, someone who I underappreciated. But when you look up at advanced metrics, number 1, 2, or 3 in every category for the last few years, and he goes down with a long line of really good goalies in Red Bull history. Sean Nealis, Kyle Duncan, Alexander Hack, Noah Isla, they're 4 defensive men. 3 of them are center backs that have left, and that left a really big hole in the center of the defense. And then Michael Bradley came in, a midfield legend, and he must not have liked what he saw because he got rid of, I think, 4 or 5 midfielders, one of which, a winger, Lewis Morgan, you guys know really well, 4 seasons with Red Bull, but could never put it together with injury. One of the most immensely talented missing players from our lineup. He missed almost 2 full seasons of those 4 years. So, he flashed, but he's out.
Are you guys excited about Michael Bradley?
Absolutely excited about Michael Bradley.
Really? Okay. Key additions. Michael Bradley, were you one of them?
Michael Bradley, you know, there were a lot of players that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but Michael Bradley is just the guy. You know, we have to assume he's been training for this since he was a teenager, and his father
Probably,
was
yeah.
coach of the U.S. men's national team. Then his father was coach for, you know, other spots. He's been a player mentor for a long time and did amazing with the Red Bull 2 team. Won the what is that, U.S. What are they playing now? MLS, whatever, the second division.
Yeah,
Won
MLS
that
next
championship
year,
last year. Yeah. Loves youth, and the average age of this team is under 23 years old. So he is the right guy for the job, even if that job is not winning MLS Cup right now. I think that his addition makes everyone on the team better. I think that when we look at last season, that's the minimum, right? Like 9th, 10th place, that's the bare minimum. You got to be 9th or 10th place. And yeah, we traded all defense for offense. So last year was a lot of 2-1, 1-0. This is going to be a little more 3-2, 4-2. You guys in Miami know what that's like, getting in shootouts every game. And there were some exciting additions. Center back is weak, but we brought in Robert Vola there from Sporting KC. I really want to see what he has because he's played on a really bad SKC team for a very long time. I think he's really good, but we're going to find that out. We brought in Ethan Horvath, his first time playing in Major League Soccer. He's an American who's been, you know, over Europe for a bunch of seasons now, was in the U.S. men's national team picture and could get back there with a really strong performance. And it's wingers. That's what we brought to the team this year. Cade Cowell, you might have remembered him from his time with San Jose, played down in South America, could never quite break through.
Mexico.
Yep. And he is back in Major League Soccer. He's going to move from left to right wing. And in our first preseason game, scored 3 assists, which could be really, really huge if that's any indicator of what he's got for the team. They also have on the left side, also from Mexico, Jorge Ruvalcaba. He's a designated player signing out on the left wing there. And, you know, I think that his addition is going to provide some more upside. So defense got worse. Wingers, I think, are going to be a huge upgrade. I have criticized Cade Cowell left and right, but I think on this squad, he has what it takes. I say he's not technical enough, but it doesn't matter. He's on the Red Bulls. Run after someone, force a turnover, get an assist in the box. That it doesn't matter how good he is with the ball. You know, I think that it's going to cover for a lot of his deficiencies as a player.
Yeah, you're playing the Energizer ball, but before, I think that Cade hasn't gotten enough attention because I've heard about a lot of additions across the league, and I feel like that move was so under the radar. Him coming back to the MLS, I thought would get more attention. Him coming to the Red Bulls, or you guys are going to press heavy? Well, actually, let's get inside. Somebody asked, Michael Bradley, is he changing the Red Bull style of play? Because, you know, you guys obviously are just run, and just, you know, just do what the Red Bulls do. I feel like people just call it the Red Bull style. Like, is that going to stay with Michael Bradley?
I think a little bit, but I think that Red Bull has already been in the process of changing that up a little bit. I think I said on last year's preview, you know, it used to be relentless press all the time, energy, go. But then they start getting a little smarter. Okay, we're going to choose when we press. We're going to see what the trigger is for the press. It's going to be different in different parts of the field, different phases of the game. And under Sandro Schwartz, they were making smarter decisions. Under Michael Bradley, you know, I think a lot of criticisms he took as a player was, you know, just square passes, passing backwards every time he needs to. He is going to, press the ball when you turn it over, but you don't need to press if you don't turn the ball over. And I think that they're going to favor possession a little bit more. In the past, they had gone with like 2 8s and a 10. This year, the midfield's going to be a little more flat, with Emil Forsberg pushing out wide, but not necessarily playing up top, like as a 10, as a shadow striker or anything like that. So I think that the press is going to be more mature, but here's the thing. If you don't turn the ball over, you don't need to press so often. However, as I said before, this is an under 23 team. I know that when you get under guys like Messi, like guys in Miami who might be a little longer in the tooth, you might say, hey, let's possess the ball. But when you find out you can beat them in every ground race you get to, you kind of press a little harder. So I think it's going to be dictating on the game. We need to win more on the road. That is absolutely, you know, something that's got to happen. So I think that maybe being a little more aggressive on the road, pressing there, and then choosing your spots, I think it's going to be smarter than just go.
Okay. would you say is the most overrated player on the Red Bulls right now?
That's a really great question. And I think that most players on Red Bull are underrated right now. I think that, we've talked about Jorge Ruvalcaba, Cade Cowell, Maxime Choupo-Moting, 17 goals, and I barely hear his name. Emil Forsberg, who has scored as a number 10 and won at every level, from scoring goals at the World Cup to scoring goals in Champions League, doing it, everywhere. So I think if anything, we're a little underrated. But if I had to pick a player, Dennis Jangar, he is a right winger who is now 4th or 5th on the depth chart. He came in, I believe, as a youth DP, and he's kind of all the way back to a right wing back right now. I don't think he's going to be used, and I think that he might find a way out the door. No one's underrated, but that's, I guess, the kind of guy he's got to make it happen now, or his time here is going to be gone.
Choupo-Moting isn't underrated, but I think everybody expected him to do nothing last year, right? His age and just, I think he surprised a lot of people, me included, because I wasn't expecting a lot from him.
There's two ways to think about it, right? We talk about, I'm a big NFL fan. So for you guys who watch, there used to be running backs to age 28. That's it. They're done. They can't contribute anymore. But then you look a little deeper in the metrics. It's not the age. It's the wear on the legs.
Wear and tear.
Eric Choupo-Moting has been in professional soccer for a very long time. He has been a starter on professional soccer teams very seldom. He's a 15 to 20 game kind of guy. And that's what he's been all this time. So he comes here from Europe. We were ready to put a coffin on him, but he had fresh legs. He's not fast, but he can close down in a hurry. He has a little get up in his legs still, and he's a big guy. He's a big target. I don't think we utilized his size so much last year. I was worried we were just going to fling balls into the box, and that did not happen at all last season. I think we might see that a little more this year. But yeah, exactly. He has the age, but he doesn't have a ton of wear and tear. He doesn't have a exciting injury history. I think that, he came as advertised. And if you told me last year 17 goals, I would say there's no chance. Let's be happy with 15. He got to 17, and if things go the way they've been going this preseason, I think 20 or more is 100% within the realm of possibilities.
So defending Eastern Conference champs going into last year, obviously didn't go as well as expected. I didn't realize it was 15 years in a row that you guys have made the playoffs. What are the expectations going into this year from a fan standpoint? And then just your prediction, will they hit those expectations?
So expectations now are at an all-time low.
Okay.
We were, was it 9th place last year, 10th place last year in the East? And people are saying, 10th. Oh, that's, the best we could do. I don't think that's the best we could do. If we replay the 2025 season, 9 times out of 10, we finish in a playoff position. It was inopportune times. It was the coach, Central Shorts, who I think was a very good coach. I think he's a really, really great person. But he didn't instill in the team this idea that you have a limited number of time. You have a limited number of minutes. You need to play with some urgency. They played with absolutely no urgency at all last season. I think under Michael Bradley, that changes. He's going to give more minutes to younger players. This is a young squad overall. And I think that where people are projecting them is their worst. But what if Jorge Ruvalcaba comes out and he tears Major League Soccer? He scored 9 times in the past 2 seasons with UNAM in Mexico. He's coming in as a DP winger. That could bring a lot of goals to the team. Cade Cowell, as you said, I've been very critical of him, but he was a very highly acclaimed, really, really good pedigree. His brother is playing in RSL now. He's just an athlete's athlete.
Yeah.
A lot of things can go right. And if these things break right, if our center back, we're going to need another center back some point this season. But if we can get this defense together, score some goals, if Ethan Horvath stands on his head in a World Cup here, the sky's the limit for this team. And I'm almost disappointed. Yes, I know it doesn't look good on paper. Yes, I know what happened last year. I'm not disillusioned, but you're seeing them at their worst. What about at their best? What about, this team could really come out and I think surprise a lot of people. So floor is 10. Floor is 10. We're not going to be lower than 10. There's no chance. I don't see any chance that happens.
Nice.
It's just a matter of how many pieces work out. If 1 or 2 of our 6 projects work out, maybe we're closer to 9th. If 5 of our 6 projects work out, maybe we're closer to 3rd or 4th. There's such a big range of outcomes, and we haven't had
I think
that.
a lot of it would you agree that a lot of it kind of falls on the shoulders of Forsberg and having a big year? Because that year that you guys made that MLS Cup run, I mean, it was him at the end of the season that picked it up.
No, not even a little. I think
No,
that
you
again,
don't.
we've seen everything that he has to offer, and he is a pro. He is a pro's pro. He's done really well. The DPs last year were the contributors, you know, and we can ask for them to do more, but it was really the surrounding cast that didn't do anything. Choupo-Moting, 17 goals, 4 assists. Emil Forsberg, 11 goals, 8 assists. You know, we could see that assist number go up. Maybe the goals come down a little bit, but I don't think that he's been anything less than he's been sold as, you know. I think that he could really do well on this team, but it's again, it's other people who need to step up around him. It's some of the midfielders. And I think that Michael Bradley is the guy to come in and fix the midfield. And when we brought him in, he got rid of 4 or 5 guys and said, okay, we got to do this again. So he is familiar with the academy kids because he coached them, because he brought them to a championship last year. So, you know, there are many, many questions and not a whole lot of answers, but I'm choosing to be optimistic.
I like it. And then the last question before I let you roll out of here. Battered moment. We're all battered fans at one point or another. Red Bull's probably more than anybody. If you could pick, as a fan, your most battered moment as a Red Bulls fan.
It's got to be 2. The first one has to be the health of Lewis Morgan. I mean, we talked about him and how much he was going to mean for the last 4 years. We've been talking about him. Yeah. I think that getting a player of that caliber and then not seeing him week in and week out is kind of a punch in the gut. But if you look at the MLS Cup game that we had a starting lineup was submitted, center back comes up, can't play. Who knows what it was? We talked about it. We had Noah Isla step in for him in his place, and Isla was hurt. He wasn't able to contribute in that game and got beat twice in the first 15 minutes of the game. So I think that is the story. Andre Reyes just completely letting his team down, whether it be a legitimate health reason or something a little more nefarious. He couldn't go in MLS Cup. He let them put him on the starting roster, then did not start the game, costing them a sub, and letting them start with a center back who hadn't warmed up, who wasn't fit, and who wasn't ready to play MLS Cup. And we lost it in the first 15 minutes. Eventually scored, lost 2-1 in that game. I think that if any other scenario had happened, with Andre Reyes either playing a full 90 minutes or knowing a half hour beforehand, it could have been a different result. I won't say would have. Could have been a different result, and that would have been a first championship in club history.
Yeah, that was just a little over a year ago. Well, Bob, appreciate taking the time to join me. Let everybody know where they could find you to hear more about the MLS, because you do a lot with the MLS, especially if you're into gambling.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing you're doing, Say, but in long form. We're doing 45 minutes a team. We have 3 teams left on the Designated Pundits, designatedpundits.com, hooligan-soccer.com. You can find all of our stuff there. Search the Designated Pundits on your favorite podcast platform. We have brought in specialists from every single Major League Soccer team. That series is going to conclude Wednesday. And we're the betting guys. I am the MLS betting expert. That was a name given to me, not one that I claimed myself. So now I got to use it all the time. We go over Thursday sports book picks. We talk spreads. We talk over-unders. We talk both teams to score. We talk all the bets that are going to be the best for the week, and we track them throughout the season. So if you are into gambling, let's get after it. And that's going to be every Thursday at 8 p.m.
Absolutely. And check out, I was on with Bob talking Inter Miami like a couple weeks ago. So make sure you check out all his previews, because he goes a lot more in depth. So Bob, appreciate you joining me, and we'll be in contact.
Be good, man. Take care. Thank you for having me.
So we are moving further north, and for our final team here on the East Coast on Sunday night, we have Montreal, and we have Andy from The Ball Is Round. What's going on, Andy? How are you doing, sir?
Bonjour. Yes, I'm doing very good. I can't believe I'm the last team of your show, because this would be such a CF Montreal thing to hear, to be the last team.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, for those of you that are watching live, we're going to continue with the West Coast a little later on. We're going to go on at 10:30.
It doesn't make me feel any better, but
okay. But you're finishing off the East Coast show for sure. So, Andy, in 60 seconds, and it's funny because we're starting with the low teams on the table, Everybody's done it in like 20 seconds, but in 60 seconds or less, just a recap of the 2025 season for Montreal.
I really wish I could do this. Okay, let's do it quickly. One of the only teams that stayed with their coaches in the offseason, then fires Laurent Courtois after 5 games when they had 7 games on the road. Terrible start. Marco Donatel takes the interim. Major injuries, and pretty much lost the Canadian Championship. Ownership wrote a letter over the summer to the fans saying that they messed up and that they're in rebuilding mode. And ever since then, they've been trying their best to get rid of bad contracts from previous regimes and just trying to bring in new players. And that's pretty much it. And just a terrible season. I remember we were one of the lowest teams in the league. Only won 2 home games in 2025, and yeah, not a lot to talk about. Just a lot of losses and a lot of disappointments.
So you won 2 games at home, 6 games overall. So 2 at home, 4 on the road. 34 goals for, 60 against. You were 13th in the Eastern Conference. Is it safe to say that things just kind of just went awry once Nancy left?
Oh, I mean, this is something we're having a conversation last year. I mean, yes, it's been a constant catching up. Constant catching up since 2022.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but I always say, I've said it on my show and I've said it in any show that was willing to listen. 2022 is the worst thing that's ever happened to CF Montreal, because it made them believe that there was something with the little money that they spent and the little resources that coaches were given, that they could actually have success. So CF Montreal really did believe that if they really went to an extreme and continued doing what they did in 2022, they could any coach could fight success. But that's not the truth. The reality is, in this league nowadays, you actually need to spend money. You need to spend money, and you need to choose talent wisely, and not just take a bargain deal left and right and hope that these injury-riddled players or players that have difficult characters, even in previous leagues or previous teams, can actually perform easily in MLS. So I think that's the kind of due diligence that they've been trying to do since they issued that letter, where every signing they bring in, they make sure that it's that it actually has a purpose, that it actually doesn't come with a bunch of baggage that could come up as a problem in the middle of the season. So we'll see.
So before we get into those additions, what are key departures over the offseason?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot, because there weren't any major departures this offseason. They were mostly in the summer. There was Joel Waterman last summer that was a captain for the team that went to the Chicago Fire. I almost said the Cubs. And then there was Nathan Saliba that got signed to Anderlecht in Europe. These were big time players that were very impactful on the team and left.
You didn't feel like Sealy was a big one?
Dante Sealy was a big one because of the impact that he had towards the end of the season.
Right.
But we talked a lot about it in our show. Is like, when we saw the deal go through and we saw the amount of money that was played, I don't know, man. Maybe we're crazy and maybe he's actually really, really good. But Dante Sealy was performing really well once that letter was issued. And it was clear that they were on rebuild mode and the team had nothing to play, and they surrounded him with better pieces. But if you see him at the beginning of the season, at least the first 6 months of the MLS season, he was terrible. He was not good. He was very frustrating as a player. The only reason he got an opportunity was because, as I mentioned, there were injuries. There were, there was no depth. And once Laurent Courtois got fired, CF Montreal completely changed their formation. So someone like Dante Sealy was, raised or formed in his academy as a wingback. He spent his whole career as a wingback, and all of a sudden, in the new formation, he's a winger. So he's learning a new position, and he's doing really well in it. But CF Montreal got to see some of those very, very frustrating moments where you could tell he didn't fully understand the position. So it was tough. But hey, you know what? In a very business-like, aspect, CF Montreal won a lot with Dante Sealy. But a lot of the fans are not. I'll tell you that they don't really think it's the biggest loss this team has had. It's just been a big offseason of cleaning up bad contracts from past regimes.
Okay. And what are key additions?
Some of the key additions, as I mentioned in the summer, it was not so much this offseason. but there was even Jaime, who came in as a loan. There's also been Noah Strait that just signed recently. He's a youngster too, and Ivan Losenko. These are players that are young European players that are coming with a lot to prove. So it's
I
not
don't
one
recognize any of
single.
them.
Yeah, it's not one single name that would necessarily stand out to you. I mean, there was Thomas Aviles from Inter Miami that came, but again, is not a player that is going to change this franchise. I think he's a defender that has his skills, but as we saw when he left, a lot of Inter Miami fans said that they were kind of happy he left because he was known for maybe having an up and down play, even though he came with a lot of prospect when he first signed with Inter Miami. But with CF Montreal, there's a clog of defenders. It's not like he's a.
I was going to ask you, is there depth? Okay, so there's no guarantee
There's
because I mean, I will tell you just based off of obviously I've watched Toto Aviles closely. He'll give you a solid 86, 87 minutes. He'll give you those 3 minutes where he makes those boneheaded yellow card fouls. And that's why people get frustrated. But he does have a lot of potential. So just speaking off of Toto Aviles, I don't know if he'll be able to win out in the depth that you guys have at center back, but that he has a lot of promise. And there are some other Inter Miami fans that felt like he needed to get a better chance.
Yeah, well, look, again, that position is stacked. And it's good. It's good for the competition because I saw his game against Metallic 925, Ukrainian team, and he did a boneheaded mistake, giving the ball away on a header that led to the goal, to I think the second goal by the other team, Metallic, and it was frustrating because we don't get to see that much during the preseason. We don't. Right. There's barely any games that are broadcasted,
televised.
But the little thing that we got from him was that, and he seemed very confused. But he had only been with the team for like a week, but it's going to be interesting to see because they also signed Brian Vera from Real Salt Lake. That also brings a lot of experience. He's not a youngster, but he also has had issues in the past with mental mistakes and maybe also picking up some cards that are questionable. So you kind of like the fact that they're bringing in players that are a little more aggressive and physical and know the league with league experience. But at the same time, you start wondering how risky are they in a game. Will they'll pick up a red card stupidly?
Right. Okay. Now, tactical or formation predictions. How do you see Montreal playing this year? Are they going to be playing the counter? Like what formation? Like what do you predict to see out of Montreal this year?
Well, Montreal has, Marco Donadel has stuck to his guns, even though they were losing games after games. They're always gonna be playing with a back four, and they're probably a back 4 or 3 and 1 and 2 on top. With Daniel Rios coming also from the Vancouver Whitecaps, who might be a double striker with Prince Owusu. But it's defensively is where CF Montreal really tries to make it be a different team than the rest of the league, is where Marco Donadel likes to have his players play man-to-man defense, which is incredibly frustrating. It led to a lot of mistakes and vulnerabilities last year, but you're hoping with the new profiles that they picked up that they're actually going to be better. But that's what it looks like right now. I will say this, CF Montreal, a lot of the new profiles since Marco Donadel has been there, a lot of the new profiles that they brought in don't play one position, except maybe if that you're talking about Daniel Rios, that is much later in his career. But a lot of them, like Brian Vera, can play center back and at left back. Ivan Losenko can play many positions in the midfield. So it looks like he likes players that can kind of move around the field and not really stay put in one solid position. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Marco Donadel does in his second season. A lot of people are saying it's Marco Donadel's first off season, which to me is not true at all, because last year he was there during the off season, but he was an assistant coach, so this doesn't count to me as his first off season with CF Montreal.
All right. So, if I were to ask you, who's the most overrated player on Montreal? Who would you say is the most overrated, and why is it Prince Owusu?
It's not Prince Owusu. It's Thomas Prince Owusu deserves to all the praise he can get. I mean, I understand that a lot of people
13 goals last year, right?
Yeah, but beyond that, he was also holding he had the captain's armband while Samuel Piette was out with a lengthy injury. No, he's an excellent player, and he's been scoring in preseason games as well. I think he's scored at least.
Yeah, he got a
one goal in
contract
every
extension,
preseason.
didn't he?
And he got a contract extension. So no, he's not overrated. If we're gonna talk about overrated, I will talk about Thomas Gillier, the goalkeeper that is on loan from Bologna FC, CF Montreal's sister club. The reason why I would say he's overrated is because our starting goalkeeper from last year, Jonathan Sirois, actually was signed over to FC Dallas. And a lot of, if you're going to get somebody that came from the academy and worked his way up to the first team and was a starter for so long and get him to another club, it's because you got an upgrade. Thomas Gillier gave us maybe 6 months, half of the season really to see what he played. And to me, he wasn't an upgrade to Jonathan Sirois. But I will say this. He's very good at what he does off the field, in the sense that he's very he's very vocal, and in his press conferences, he has literally any question you ask him, his answers will all be like really good quotes for to be inspiring and to get the fan really pumped up. But on the field, you can get me pumped up off of press conferences all day. But if on the field you're the same as my last goalie, what are you bringing? So to me, that's overrated for now. Maybe I'm dumb and I'm blind, and maybe in the season he's going to have a fantastic season. But for now, to me, this is an underrated player.
Okay. And I was just joking about principles. Relax.
Don't you ever say that again.
I saw somebody in the chat. All right. Player to watch for. If somebody doesn't watch Montreal on a regular basis, they catch him on TV. You say, look out for this guy. He's going to stand out to you. He's going to be a good guy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the Ukrainian youngster, Hennady Senchuk, that is heading into his second season. I think not just me, I think a lot of the fans are very excited to see his second season, because he came in under the U22 initiative last year. And when we saw him in training camp last year, we were talking with my co-host Elias, is that he was kind of like this lanky, kid that really didn't seem to really fit in the group and all that. He didn't know any English or French, so to really fit in with the. And now it's his second year. He clearly even gave press conferences in English and all that. But beyond that, in those games that I just told you about that we saw we saw in the preseason, the kid looks bigger. He looks bigger, and he looks like he's ready to get tackled. He actually spent, I believe, 3 months off because he was injured. He had a bad injury in his knee. But beyond that, with that Metallic game, we saw that he was getting tackled and bullied and all that, and he got right back up. So you really like to see that, because beyond getting up from these challenges, he's also becoming a lot of he's kind of walking with a lot more confidence, which might not mean nothing, but it could be something in the sense that he's more comfortable where he's at in the role with his teammates and all that, and we could see the best of him. I think he's going to be a very interesting player to see if he can stay healthy throughout the season.
What are the expectations from the fan standpoint for Montreal this year? And then, and prediction-wise, are they going to meet those expectations?
Honestly, I'm not even going to give it a number, but they just want it to be better than last year, because last year was so bad. It's really a lot of teams, a lot of fans just kind of gave up on the team. They were watching it just to see how bad it could get. As podcasters, you know this. Inter Miami has had bad seasons. And sometimes you gotta continue watching the games. It's gonna be crap. It's crap, but you gotta see, because you might just see something. But no, it's this year they brought in a lot more talent. Thomas Aviles, as I mentioned, Daniel Rios, Ivan Losenko. There's a lot of very, very interesting talent that we'll see how they mesh into Marco Donadel's scheme and all that. But yeah, they just want it to be better, and they are really, I think the fans are really making it a point to hold the owners, the kids, the Luca Saputo and Simone Saputo, to their letter, saying, you said this was going to get better. It was going to take you a few transfer windows to make it better. So let's go. It's been 2. It's been the summer and the winter now. There's still no DP that they signed that they can say this is our designated player. But yeah, it's really going to be an important season to at least, I mean, Lucas Saputo came out in a press conference and said, this year our goal is to compete for the playoffs. Those are his words. He never said win the playoffs. He never said win the cup. He said compete for the playoffs. So that's kind of where I guess everybody's kind of taking his word for it in that sense.
All right, and then I'm ending each one with this question. We're all battered fans. At some point, we've had a battered moment in our fandom. As a Montreal fan, what would you say is that battered moment where you're like, ah, and you just put your hands on top of your head?
Well, there's got to be two. I'm sorry, there's
Like,
got to
go
be
for
two
it.
because
No,
the
it's
first
okay.
one
Everybody's
was,
been giving me two. Everybody's been giving me
yeah.
two.
Well, last year, Toronto FC, which is Montreal's most hated rival, um, they went to Stade Saputo at home, and usually that's Stade Saputo is well known in the league for being a tough stadium to play in because it's so small and loud, and especially people don't care if we're the last place team in the standings. If we're playing against Toronto, they'll show up, and they ended up getting a red card, CF Montreal a red card, and lost 6-0 in Stade Saputo. So that if you even for someone covering the team, even a journalist, you see that and you just see the Toronto fans celebrating, and you're like, what am I doing here right now? This is terrible. And then the second one when they played the two legs for the CPL against the CPL team, which is a lower division here in Canada, and they got beat in both legs, and they were never able to, and it eliminated them out of the Canadian Championship.
Remember that. They lost both legs to them?
Yeah, well, because both legs, in a very weird sequence of events, the Canadian Championship, the two legs were separated almost by 3 months. They weren't even like within weeks. They were 3 months. Okay. So they lost the first leg. There were a bunch of injuries between those 3 months. There were players coming back. So they lost I forgot what the score was, maybe 1-0 or something. Anyways, it was surmountable that they could have done it, and they didn't. And again, that during those 3 months gap that I tell you is, yeah, the no moment, but I know what you're saying. But it was during those moments that the Lucas Saputo and the coaches and all that, they kept coming on. They saying, look, I know we are very, very far from making it to playoffs here in MLS, but we still have the Canadian Championship. We still have the Canadian Championship. Forget, okay, we're going to lose these games. No stress. But we still have once they lost the Canadian Championship, it was a very, very dark day in the CF Montreal offices. I can tell you that a lot of people were looking at each other like, what now? And literally those questions were asked in the press conference. Y'all set the Canadian Championship. Now what? Y'all are eliminated. And they said, well, no, now we're going to go ahead and let's not talk about Bryce Duke, man. Let's not talk about Bryce Duke, man. Bryce Duke had his own issues. I think it's a consensus from, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of diving off of that.
Go for
it. Bryce Duke is tremendously talented, a talented player, but as I've heard from a lot of people in the club about Bryce Duke, that they've spent a lot of time around him, he's his own worst enemy, in the sense that he gets, and you've seen that, you can see it in games. He'll go on some streaks of really, really good play, while in other moments he'll go really down on himself just because he had some really, really bad plays, giveaways, whatever, or maybe his teammates are not passing it, whatever it may be. He's his own worst enemy. He's with San Diego now.
Yeah. Hopefully
that's a kind of a revival of his career, because again, I think he's tremendously talented and he's very young, but there are some very, very frustrating moments with him where he seemed to get him in his own way. And it was kind of sad to see, because it's, again, I'm telling you, he's young, but at the same time, in soccer years, he's not that young anymore. So it's sad to see the Bryce Duke project that just kind of failed in its own way.
Andy, I appreciate you taking the time to join us to talk a little Montreal. Let everybody know where they can find you if they want some more Montreal talk.
Yeah, for sure. So we do our podcast every Sunday, like today. We do it live just like you guys, and we at the Ballers Run Montreal. You guys can find us on YouTube, on Blue Sky, on Spotify. We have our own Patreon. We have player and staff interviews from CF Montreal, Roses FC, and FC Supra, the 3 professional teams in Montreal. And we're there. Follow us on X everywhere, and every Sunday talk about CF Montreal and other soccer teams in Montreal.
Awesome, Andy. Again, appreciate you taking the time, and we'll keep in contact.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Andy. All right, and that wraps it up for the first episode of our 2026 MLS teams previews. Now I'm going to get out of here. We're wrapping up the East Coast. We're going to start with the West Coast bottom 5 teams because we figured we start from the bottom up. So we're going to start with the bottom 5 teams in the West Coast, and we'll be doing that in just a couple of minutes. So if you want to stick around, make sure you stay sub to that Battered MLS Fans channel. And like I said, we'll be back in a couple minutes to still start talking some Western Conference bottom 5. So until the next one, have a good one.